Good afternoon to all our listeners. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this webinar. My name is Ethna Vaughan Witts. I'm the Principal Doctors Recruiter here in FRS Recruitment, and I'm joined by my colleague Emma Fenton, Client Relationship Manager with FRS Recruitment. We also have two guest speakers this afternoon, Dr. Amir and Dr. Kaizi, two Malaysian doctors living and working here in Ireland. We had the pleasure of working with both these doctors earlier this year, and we thought you'd be interested in hearing from them about their journey to Ireland, about their current roles here within the Irish healthcare system. We spoke with them on Monday, and we have a short video in which they tell us all about their experiences of moving to Ireland and working in Ireland. But before we hear from Doctors Amir and Kazi, let me tell you a little bit about ourselves. Emma and I are highly experienced doctors recruiters with over 20 years proven success in recruiting doctors from all over the world to come to work in Ireland. We have in-depth knowledge of the healthcare sector in Ireland, and we have fostered strong relationships with medical manpower personnel throughout the HSE hospital network. Our company, FRS Recruitment, is an award-winning recruitment agency with 10 offices nationwide. We are leaders in the specialised field of healthcare recruitment, and as an approved supplier to the HSE and a proud sponsor of the Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland, we take great pleasure in working closely with our candidates and our clients to ensure that we deliver an effective and professional service to both. So any doctors listening in with the ambition to come and work in Ireland, please do ask any questions you might have on the chat box on the right-hand side of the screen. You can also contact us through our website, frsrecruitment.com. We'll upload our direct email addresses and contact numbers. If you'd like to submit your CV for review, please email doctors@frsrecruitment.com and we will respond. So now I'd like my colleague Emma to talk you through the 6 key stages in relocating to Ireland. Emma, what are these 6 key stages?
Hi, Esna, and welcome to all of the doctors all over the world. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, whether you're viewing live or viewing later on. We're glad to have you with us. I'm happy to talk to you about the 6 key stages in relocating to Ireland, and I'll give a brief overview of each of those today. They would be, first and foremost, Irish Medical Council registration, English language exam, CV preparation and presentation, interview preparation and interview itself, job offer and negotiation, and then finally relocating to Ireland itself.
Great. Let's start with the IMC registration.
So registration with the Irish Medical Council is probably the most important step you can take towards moving to Ireland. It takes the longest amount of time, and it's probably the most important step. You can't really begin your process until you've started the Irish Medical Council process. General registration is the most suitable for non-EU trained doctors. And it's a fairly straightforward process that you can begin on the Irish Medical Council's website. The website's very straightforward, and you can submit all of your documents online there, and you can even check your eligibility, and everything you need is there on the website. It's a pretty straightforward and a fairly successful website. In order to be eligible for Irish Medical Council registration, you must have graduated from an accredited medical school. There's a list of the World Health Organization accredited medical schools on the Irish Medical Council's website where you can check there. The most usual route that we see for doctors coming to Ireland from overseas would be internship recognition. So that's where you've done your medical training in a country, then you've done your internship, and you check that with the Irish Medical Council if your internship is recognised as similar to the Irish internship. So currently the Irish Medical Council recognise internships from Australia, New Zealand, Sudan, Malaysia, the UK, Malta. Also South African internships from 2006 onwards, and Pakistani internships from 2009 onwards. If your internship is not recognised, it's not on the list of those countries where you did your internship, there's 2 other options for you. You can either utilise the higher qualification pathway, which means that you've done your medical degree, your internship, and then you've done some postgraduate training that's given you a higher qualification that the Irish Medical Council approve. So examples of them would be membership of the College of Emergency Medicine, membership of the Royal College of Physicians, membership of the Royal College of Surgeons. There is a list on the Medical Council of all of the higher qualifications that they consider to exempt you from what then is the other option, which is the PRESS. The PRESS is the pre-registration examination system, and the PRESS is it's a three-step process for doctors who don't meet either the higher qualification or the internship recognition. So there's three steps. It's an application form, then a knowledge exam, which people typically do in other countries. So they accept, there's a list of them they accept, but the most common ones would be PLAB or USMLEs. And then a clinical exam, which is the PRESS Level 3. It's held once a year in Dublin and Cork, and you must have completed your PRESS 1 and 2 to be eligible to even apply to sit the PRESS Level 3 clinical exam. So the IMC registration is your first big step to coming to Ireland, and once you've that one done, you've made a large headway in the start.
Right. Thanks, Emma. That's lots of interesting, relevant information there for all our doctors. So the next question then I would have is, what is the English language requirement? Because there is often confusion around this issue.
Thanks, Ethna. Yeah, the Irish Medical Council require English language competency for registering with them, but they often waive it if the doctor shows they've completed their medical degree or their higher level training through the English language. However, the HSE, or the Health Service Executive, would be Ireland's main and largest employer of doctors in Ireland, and they have their own strictly enforced language requirement, which is you must have either the OET or the academic IELTS completed. The OET scores required are a B in all 4 disciplines, and the academic IELTS requires an overall score of 7 with a minimum of 6.5 in each. The exam results have to be in date at the time of job offer, and the HSE consider the OET and IELTS valid for 2 years from the date you sat the exam.
Perfect. Okay. That's answering a question just come up there in the chat box, so that was very timely. So for doctors listening in, their IMC is in process and they have their English language exam. What should their next step be?
Well, definitely at some stage in the process, you need to get your CV prepared. A lot of doctors send us their CV before they even begin the IMC process, or halfway through the IMC process. You certainly can send your CV to us at any stage. But if you're preparing your CV for consideration for the Irish market, it's a really important document. It's what really determines whether you're going to be shortlisted for interview or not. We're happy to help and give advice on CVs, but there are some general guidelines that we would offer people in terms of preparing their CV. They should be in reverse chronological order. So your most recent job and your most recent education should be at the top. You should have details of all of your education and employment and not leave any gaps in the timeline. So you need to account for any time where you may have been traveling or on maternity leave, etc. So what I should be able to see when I get a CV from you is a clear timeline of when you graduated as a doctor and everything you've done since then, really clearly laid out. The details of the roles and responsibilities that you have performed as a doctor should be included, and all relevant and pertinent clinical information. It's often good to think about that the consultant who's reviewing your CV may never have heard of the hospital you're currently working in. So try to give a short summary of how many beds there are in the hospital. Is it a large acute hospital? Just a one-line summary of describing the centre where you performed this work can be pivotal in determining how highly they score your experience. But as I said, we're happy to review everyone's CV. We will give you advice, and we'll also help you restructure your CV. So pop over your CV to us at any stage.
Okay, perfect. So the process now will be moving along for somebody. If a doctor has had a consultation with their FRS recruiter, their CV looks good and has been promoted to hospitals, and they're called for interview, what happens then?
Interviews with each hospital and consultancy consultant are often very different. Even similar departments in the same hospital can be very different. So it's important to get advice, and that's where I think FRS really can help, because we offer specialist advice and interview preparation for each interview you're called for. Um, the the other thing I would bear in mind is that interviews are often called at very short notice, and the consultants who are calling for interview expect you to be available to attend. They may give you 6 hours a day, 2 days notice, and I wouldn't take offense to that. I would drop everything and I would turn up for the interview. They're often very short and sweet. They're 10 or 15 minutes. A lot of the time, the interview is used to confirm a lot of information that's already on your CV, but they want to hear you speak. They want to hear your communication skills. And so I would make myself available and I would attend the interview. Consultants very rarely reschedule the interview. So if you don't make the interview, you've lost your chance, unfortunately. Most interviews are conducted online. So you'll need a strong internet connection and you'll need to be well presented, neat and tidy. Um, and then in terms of the interview types of questions and what's put forward, that will vary hugely. As I said, we will help you prepare for that based on what specialty you're in, what hospital you're going for. But what I would say is that most interviews include clinical scenarios. And so they would be similar to OSCE style questions you would do in examinations. And FRS will be happy, myself and Ethel will be happy to do practicing of these typical style OSCE questions that come up. So if you need help or advice in preparing for those kind of interviews, we're happy to help.
Okay. So we're now really at stage 5 in this whole process of relocating to Ireland. And what happens? So the doctor has completed the interview. It went well. They've come back to their FRS recruiter to let them know that, they're happy with the interview. They want to proceed. What happens then?
So look, great news. Congratulations if you finally have a job offer. You've gone through some serious hurdles in terms of the paperwork and the process, and we've gotten you to the point where you have a job offer. Um, I would say what's really important here is to is to say that we're very impartial in terms of which hospital you want to join. If you have multiple job offers or multiple opportunities, we are happy to give you information and advice that's very straightforward and honest in terms of which location would be the best for you, which hospital culture might be the best fit, which location might suit you best based on your family situation, your affordability, etc. We'll also give you information on the salary and benefits that are available for each prospective role. And I mean, really, I think that at this point in time, it's important to know that we don't have any vested interest in which position you take. We will help you make a decision and try really to give you the best career opportunity we can find for you. Um, I think we've been working with doctors and recruiting for over 20 years. And the reason we've been successful this amount of time is that we're always honest and we're always trying to find the best possible thing we can for you and your family. So then, yeah, so hopefully we'll be celebrating at that point.
Indeed. So job offer, job accepted. And now, what additional support and help can FRS provide to the doctor who's now on their way to Ireland to start working here?
Yeah, and I think this is really important. And one of the really pivotal things we wanted to talk about in today's webinar is relocating to Ireland, because the reason FRS, I think, stands apart from a lot of other agencies and services that are available out there is that we have a dedicated compliance and relocation team. So they work with you from the job offer to the start date and beyond. So they you would have a dedicated point of contact, both within the recruitment team and within the compliance and relocation team. And they would, from the minute you have your job offer, they will step in to help you with the paperwork. It's immediately a written acceptance. It's a document straight from the get go to make sure that sign the acceptance document. It has to go back signed to the HR department. So we're making sure and keeping on top of all those steps that you don't miss anything out in the process. So we would make sure that you know all of the documents that are required by the hospital and that you're getting them back in a timely manner and advising you on what is a priority and what can wait some time. The relocation team then would offer support and information on everything you need. So flights, accommodation, the immigration process, schools, transport, insurance, everything that you could possibly think of, a phone, airport transfers, the tax system in Ireland, the social services system in Ireland. There's a huge amount of small things that you probably won't even think about until you're here in Ireland. But our team have been doing it for 20 years. They know all of those small things and they will make sure that they are done for you in advance and everything that can be done is done. And then I think that as well as that, we're not just about getting you the job. We're making sure you're coming to the right place, coming to the right hospital, you're doing the right work, that you settle well, that you are happy in your role, and we're keeping in touch with you. And I think it's that personalized service that is what's really unique to FRS and the team here.
Excellent. Well, look, that all sounds really exciting, and I hope it encourages doctors listening in to make a move and to contact us. And at this point, I'm sure everybody listening will be very interested in hearing from our two guest speakers who have just gone through this process with FRS and are now living and working in Ireland. So Drs. Amir and Kazi are a married couple who contacted us earlier in 2024 with a desire to come and work here. And they are now here and have kindly given us some time to tell us about their experience.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Amir Safwat. I'm actually from Malaysia originally. I'm currently working in Tipper University Hospital as a medical registrar.
My name is Kaiser. I'm also from Malaysia. I'm currently working in Tipper University Hospital as a ED registrar.
Well, first of all, we've heard a lot of good things about Ireland. The peoples are very lovely. In the same time, we believe that Ireland's practice an advanced medical. As me personally, as a medical registrar, I would want to challenge myself a little bit more. And that's one of the really reason why I and my wife actually chose Ireland.
So basically, we've heard a lot of good things about Ireland. The people are actually really, really lovely over here, and we speak a common language, which is English.
Yep.
So that's probably one of the reasons why we choose to come to Ireland, and they practice really good medicine over here. So that's probably the reason why we wanted to come to Ireland.
Well, we started our first filling up all the forms and applications started early last year. I think if I were to recall, it took us almost about 1 year to get all the IMCs and our jobs offers and everything. Yep, I think roughly it's about 1 year.
So it's actually not that hard to adapt working in an Irish hospital because we're basically doing pretty much the same thing. Getting to know the patient, getting history from the patient, diagnosing, ordering investigation, and coming up with a management. So it's pretty much the same thing as what we did in Malaysia, and it's the same thing. It's not much of a difference, basically. Yeah.
Everything was just really, really good, to be honest. Here in Tipperary, especially, the peoples are very, very nice. I think Irish in general as well are very, very nice. Career-wise, in terms of settling in the hospitals, the consultants are all very nice as well. To be honest, they are very understanding. They let me personally had some time to settle in before they really, push me. And I really like it, to be honest. Yeah.
I really do enjoy working and living here because in Ireland, there is a more stable work-life balance over here. Yep. Yes, I have plenty of time with my husband now. I work 4 days and I rest 3 days, of which I did not get anywhere else where I was working previously. Apart from that, in the hospital, as I was transitioning to settle with work, my consultant was really, really supportive. They were really encouraging, and they were really helpful, basically, yeah.
I think it's really great, to be honest. I first get to know with FRS from a friend of mine who actually had already been in Ireland 1 year earlier. So he's the one who introduced me to Emma. And after that, when I reached out to Emma, she actually helped us a lot in terms of first reaching out to us, letting us know what to expect. She herself gave us the kind of timeline that we should expect at that point of time, what we had to do, etc., which we are very happy about. And I think the biggest thing that I really, really are happy about FRS is how they helped me to get my first interview, land me with my first job opportunity in Ireland. They had it before I get my IMC issued, to be honest. And I think the day after I got my offer letter, I got IMC reaching out to me to get all my IMC settled. So really, FRS helped me even to get my...
Through the IMC process as well.
Exactly.
It was a very pleasant experience working with FRS. Basically, Emma was really resourceful. She was really helpful, and she addressed every issue, every concern that we had, and she followed through from the beginning until the end. She even followed through and asked us how we are settling down over here. So I think working with FRS is definitely a very pleasant experience, and I would recommend other people to work with FRS as well.
I first got the job initially, and my wife at the time, she hadn't had any sort of interview yet. And FRS, Emma especially, she really helped us in terms of, get my wife job and helping us to get in the similar hospitals. Yeah. So I think that's actually what we really indebted to Emma, really.
For that, actually.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I would really encourage them coming over to Ireland. First advice is, obviously, you need to get your CV done properly. Know your CV in and out. Get as much experience to boost up your CV. Number two, it's obviously to take that leap of faith and come over, because it's wonderful here, to be honest. Never a day I've ever regretted coming here. We really, really enjoy our life over here, to be honest. Yeah.
Get your CV, done properly. If you have experience, that actually helps you a lot in terms of settling in, to be honest. Otherwise, just, trust the process, I guess.
And Essa, you want to unmute your microphone there. That was great to hear from the Malaysian doctors there. And I think I want to have a look now at some of the questions that have been coming in from you guys. Esna, did you want to respond to Dr. Sayuhada, who wants to know if he or she can start applying before finishing training?
Yes, you can send your CV to us. It really does depend where you are in your training process. I think the best the best way forward for a lot of doctors is to complete their training and then come here. But it really does depend the discipline of medicine you're working in and where you are on your training. So if Dr. Jaffard wants to contact us directly on the doctors at frsrecruitment.com website, we can advise specifically in this case, I think would be the best answer.
Great, thanks for that. I think we had another question from Dr. Paula about the English language. Maybe I was a bit too fast in going through the English language. But just to reinforce that it's OET, B in all four, or IELTS, academic IELTS, 7 overall, or 6.5 minimum in each. If that's not clear, or you'd like a copy of the HSE's language policy, you can drop us an email to doctors@frsrecruitment.com and we'll send you back a copy of that full language policy. Ethna, did you want to, I know that earlier we had some questions in from a doctor wanting to know about their, and similar to the Malaysian doctors, they were husband and wife wanting to work. But if your husband or wife isn't a doctor and wants to work in Ireland, what are the opportunities like for that?
Okay, so in the last 2 years, the government changed their work permit policy. So any doctor coming to Ireland to work in the HSE, the Public Health Service, will be issued with a 2-year multi-site work permit. Once the doctor has the work permit, their spouse can then apply for a visa stamp. It's called a stamp 1G. This will allow them to work without a work permit. So yes, both partners can come to Ireland and work, which offers great opportunity for families.
Fantastic. We'd had a question there from Dr. Shazaib. I think he was just expressing his frustration with hearing back from agencies across Ireland. And I'll just address that because I get that a lot. I hear a lot from doctors, and I think it's important information that we can share today is that firstly, for non-consultant hospital doctors, there's kind of 2 recruitment cycles in Ireland. There's the January rotation and there's the July rotation. The July rotation is by far the busier of the 2 rotations. So I would say the bulk of doctors coming to Ireland start their first job in July. There is a secondary rotation of January where there's probably about half that number of positions available. But that would be kind of the other time of year when doctors are starting work. I think doctors who feel frustration with the process, there's a number of things you can do. Once you've gained your IMC registration and you've met the criteria, every day you continue to work as a doctor is more experience you're gaining. And if you're unsuccessful at this stage, it doesn't mean you'll always be unsuccessful. If you've made the effort to get your IMC registration and to do your English language exam, that will hold true for you for 2 years. Your IMC registration will hold true forever as long as you keep, restoring it every year. And every experience you gain. What I would say is that take a look at your CV, review your CV, and make sure that it's very clinically focused. A lot of the doctors who I get the most frustration from are not working in the hospital setting, are working in specialties that are not very dominant in Ireland. So if you're feeling frustrated with the process, look at the market here, talk to an expert, look at the jobs that come available every January and July. They tend to be in the more acute hospital settings. By far the largest areas that we recruit for will be areas like emergency medicine, general medicine, surgery, psychiatry. So make sure the experience you have is relevant if you really want to come to Ireland. So hopefully that helps with Dr. Shazaib's query. I know, Ethna, we had other questions come in about the salary. Is there anything you would advise to doctors who are interested to know a bit more about earning the salary?
So the HSE Health Service Executive, the department that runs all our public hospitals, has a defined salary scale. So what that means is that doctors are paid according to their skills and experience, or according to their years of experience. And that salary scale, that rate of pay is the same whether you're living in the capital city, Dublin, or whether you're living in one of our large towns and working in one of our large regional hospitals. So what I would say to doctors is, first of all, doctors in Ireland are amongst the highest paid in Europe. What we will need to do once you have a job offer is gather letters of experience, or as they call them, verification of service letters, in which the hospitals you're working with verify your length of service. All this documentation then is compiled and sent to the medical manpower department of the hospital that you have your job offer in, and that would ensure that you're on the correct point of the salary scale.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Edna. That's really clear. We had a question from Dr. Mohammed. Are NCHDs being recruited nowadays with 3 years post-internship clinical experience, or have the experience requirements increased? So, Dr. Mohammed, thanks for your question. What I would say is that absolutely we are hiring doctors with 3 years clinical experience, but it's not as simple as that. What's happening is that the HSE, much like all health services across the world, have a very limited budget, and they, what they will spend money and time and effort on recruiting from overseas is doctors who have a good wealth of experience to bring to the role. There are more opportunities in July, as I said, than there are in January for doctors with that level of experience. But there's a number of facets to whether they will shortlist you for interview. So if you have a notice period, that's a long time. So if it would take you 3 months to remove yourself from your current role, then they're unlikely to take the risk on that, because they probably need somebody to start sooner than a 3-month notice period. Secondly, if you're from a country that there's a visa requirement, again, that makes you a longer term candidate to bring to the country. So some countries such as Malaysia, Singapore, don't require a visa, they just require a work permit. And so those candidates who don't need a visa will be more attractive to the hospitals, because they feel like it will be a shorter amount of time to recruit them and onboard them. So definitely we are looking at doctors who have 3 years experience and more. The HSE are hiring doctors with 3 years experience. But in order for them to take a gamble on hiring you from a country where you need a visa and you may have a long notice period, you probably have to have more than that. You probably have to be a much harder to find doctor, which means you are working in a difficult discipline like emergency medicine or internal medicine. You've done some membership exams, like your membership with the College of Emergency Medicine or membership with the College of Physicians, and then they feel like you're a valuable person worth waiting for. So it's not an exact answer, but hopefully they give you a guideline in terms of how they think about whether they should hire you or not. I think Esna was going to answer a question about training opportunities. Esna, were you going to?
Yes, this was it. Just the roles that we recruit for are what we call standalone posts. So most doctors in fact, all doctors coming to Ireland would take their first job as a non-training role. It means that they then would have 6 to 12 months of experience working within the Irish healthcare system. After that, then, when the training places become available, we have had many examples of doctors who've come to stand alone. I think we had an anaesthetics reg not so long ago who came in a standalone post, and when the training places opened up, they applied for, and they were successful in starting their training. So coming to Ireland, getting the experience, getting the support of your Irish consultants, all of this will lead into a more likely successful outcome if one applies for a trainee post here in Ireland.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, no, it is happening more and more, I think, definitely.
More and more, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. In the last number of years, I've definitely seen much more doctors. I think the immigration system has changed a good bit. So now you can get a stamp for permission to remain in Ireland fairly quickly. I think it's a year or two, which then pits you in the same position as Irish doctors.
As an Irish applicant. So levels the playing field. The best person gets the role. Absolutely. Prior to the change in the work permit system, it would have been a 4-year wait for a stamp 4, but now doctors are getting their stamp 4 within 2 years. And as you said, it increases the likelihood of successful application on a training scheme.
And that brings up the point of like Irish passports. Like certainly in the last number of years, we've seen a lot of the doctors who came 4 or 5 years ago being successful
absolutely.
for citizenship. So And I think that it's important to get that message out there that Ireland is a very welcoming, multicultural country. We have a really diverse population, and our hospitals are probably the most diverse
Reflect
in
that.
terms of
Yes.
population. Very accommodating to religious beliefs, nationalities. And I definitely think that, I haven't seen anybody have a bad experience, much like what the two guys said on their
Yes.
their video
Yeah.
interview.
Very genuine and heartwarming meeting to hear their positive experience. And we've noticed as well that, doctors who've come from overseas, there's a good support network for everybody who comes. So, for example, doctors from Malaysia all network very well together. Doctors of Pakistan all network well. So I think most people, even if they're coming on their own, settle very quickly into life in Ireland and can make contact with people who've been through the experience and can provide good and solid advice.
True. I
Yeah.
think that brings us to our last question, which is about accommodation. So I think that links in quite well with talking about network and that. Like, I'd say we have found that, like, obviously we have a dedicated team who help with accommodation finding and will certainly, set up your short-term accommodation. We have found that what most doctors encounter is if they book short-term accommodation for when they're coming in, that the network within the hospital really gives them links and opportunities to longer term rental accommodation, which they can then see and view for themselves. And so, that's been my experience has been, and my advice would be to most doctors coming to Ireland is to book short term Airbnb or bed and breakfast accommodation, and then look at the long term accommodation when you get here. But generally speaking, between our network and the hospital network, we haven't really had a situation where there's been any issues in getting accommodation. We've certainly managed to sort everyone out that we have hired. Esna, what are your thoughts on accommodation? Is there anything else you think that?
Yeah, absolutely, Emma. I mean, out there, if you were to just search Ireland accommodation, the first thing you might hear is that there's an accommodation shortage. People will be put off by that, but I would urge you not to be. Absolutely, our compliance department has strong, productive links with, letting agents and estate agents in all of the main centres. Our compliance officer, Jacqueline, has gone to the trouble of meeting some of these people in person. So they know who she is. They know that the candidates coming from FRS who are looking for accommodation will be the type of tenant that a landlord will want. So between our local knowledge, the fact that our 10 offices throughout the country would have additional local knowledge helps. So from the input from the compliance department, but equally, as I said, the groups and the associations that have come together from all over the world and support one another. Most recently, I had somebody come into a hospital in the Midwest in what would be, if you were to listen to the media, one of the most congested cities. Absolutely, the candidate came to a hotel, but within 3 days was living with a family. And 2 weeks later has now sourced their own accommodation. So absolutely, when you're here, it's so much easier to find what you're looking for. Don't be put off and see this as a big stumbling block, because we've never had somebody who has not found accommodation close to where they're working.
Absolutely. And then I think also at the negotiation stage and the job offer stage, it's something we would talk to you about. Like, what's your... as a doctor, what's your personal situation? Do you have a family? Do you have kids? Do we need to find you a family-friendly location, or do you want to be in the heart of things in a city and that?
Exactly.
So definitely we would do our best to accommodate what you're looking for in terms of accommodation and lifestyle and that in every opportunity. So I think that's all we have time for today. If you guys out there listening or listening back later on have any questions that we weren't able to answer to or get to today, or there's anything further you'd like to hear, or if you'd like us to take a look at your CV or register your interest in coming to Ireland, the best way to get hold of myself and Ethna and the rest of the team is to email us. That's doctors, DOCTORS, at frsrecruitment.com. I think my colleague has put it up in the chat box there for you as well. Thanks to everyone for attending. That's it. That's it for now.
Thank you. Have a good day.